Hello and
welcome
welcome to
to
Simblified.
Simblified.
Good morning, miss. Okay.
That worked well with Zoom coordination.
Hey, everybody. All right. Good to have the gang back.
Yes.
And they've a pleasant sort of surprise for all old Simplified listeners.
All three
The
of you.
evil duo Chuck and Srikeit are back for this one time for the 200th episode of Simplified. Yes, we made it to number 200. Yes, drum roll.
And by bringing in two more hosts for this episode, we basically doubled our listener count. So
Yeah.
already this is an improvement.
Actually, I'm like not to start off on a sentimental note or something, but I'm reminded of episode 100, which I thought was nice. Live episode that happened.
And live.
Yeah.
No, it was with people and like no social distancing. What a time it was.
Yeah.
And we had, if memory serves right, an amateur podcaster named Amit Verma with us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who wanted to learn
Who has
from us,
since
right?
wandered away from the podcasting scene, I'm told. And like,
Yeah,
But
he's
guys,
more-
I
he's
think,
more into weekly audiobooks right now.
I think we should give our listeners a chance to put a name to the voice because there are four of us.
Yes.
So, and for people who've forgotten, I am Tony.
Oh,
I'm
that's all. I
Naren.
thought you were going to say more like.
No,
That's it.
if you want to, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm Naren.
Self Chuck.
Hi, I'm Srikeit.
Yeah.
And we are completely unrehearsed, simplified as usual.
Yeah. This is the
And,
original team of Simplified.
Srikeit, we've been making this disclaimer for about 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Just to prove our point, Naren will now make up a profundity of the day on the spot.
On the
Naren,
spot.
come on.
Okay. Be ready. Buckle up. Hold on to your knickers. Here comes the profundity. The profundity of the day today is why we bake a coconut on auspicious occasions. So I'm sure it's a question that has been troubling our listeners since they were born, staying awake at night and,
Yeah. troubling our
You know how
listeners
the
and their
solar system works.
marble tiling.
Since
Yeah.
they were born, especially if a coconut was broken right next to them.
and
Imagine.
and,
I have
and
a
everyone
coconut- yeah, I
and
have a
everyone with their
coconut-
marble tiling at home.
Yeah. And there's
I have a
that thing about how physics would have been much smaller if Isaac Newton was born in Kerala, right? And fell on his head instead of an apple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was auspicious for him that it didn't fall on his head. But why do we
Yeah.
break it, Naren? Sorry, go on.
So the profundity goes this way. Do you know why we bake a coconut when we go somewhere, right? And it's the process of breaking the coconut which we have to imbibe in ourselves. First, you tear away the husk from the coconut. The husk is your wishes and your desires. You need to leave it. Then comes the hard shell, that is the ego. You need to break the shell. What flows out is the water, which is all the things that are negative inside you. And what is left behind is the coconut pure white. That is the soul. So you connect with the Almighty in your purest form, which is the soul. Hats off to our ancestors. Please share if you think it's a good message. We are sharing because we do think it's a good message.
Wow.
And I love this concept, and I love the idea of grating the soul and making it into a Thai curry. It's just awesome. Just love it. Yes.
Amazing. So, a couple of notes from that one, Naren. Firstly, thanga you for that. And, secondly, it was I found it very hard to believe. So I'm going to categorize that under "nar real." So what you missed? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So yes, Chuck is back. and it took
The
the soul to
unmistakable-
get his soul.
the unmistakable sight of me making a bad joke and Srikeit just rubbing his eyes with his glasses
Yeah.
up like this. That's a sight that has been missed in the studio.
I was like, here I was thinking I'll be all nostalgic and I will be very welcoming, but
This
no,
was
the face palm-
nostalgia, by the way.
the
Nostalgia is
face palm-
overrated. This is nostalgia.
Yeah, with coconuts and Chuck's puns, we can say make Simblified great again. So
But I take offense to that forward because the water to me is the best part of a coconut.
Yeah,
I always
I mean,
look-
all the negative, I like the negative emissions go very well with a little bit of Bacardi. That's an inside tip. So you take coconut water, put a little
Oh,
Bacardi, and it's
okay.
like just awesome. Yeah.
That was not a
Guys-
culinary escalation I expected, but okay.
Yeah, but one thing I realized that since the four of us made it on Simblified, the four of us have been on Simblified. I think this is our first podcast that is for the four of us that has been in the post-Trump world.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we
yes,
started
yes,
in the
yes.
Trump world, and this is
We've
our first
been,
post-Trump.
we've been thrashing about, lamenting Trump's peccadillos every episode, literally. And yeah,
No, I
now we
believe
have
that
nothing
is
to
the-
talk
no,
about.
forget
Okay,
that.
so
I think,
good night. Let's go home. No Trump.
yeah, I mean it's been so long since Trump has left that like none of our topics even includes Trump, right? Like he's
Yeah.
become so irrelevant.
Yeah. No, actually, more than him leaving presidency, I think the bigger impact was him being banned from Twitter.
Twitter.
That is what really, like, that's when he actually stopped being president effectively.
Like 50% market cap of Twitter just vanished at that day. Like when
yeah. It was like
The
all the
overall
water
temperature
from the
just seems to have
coconut
come
flowed
down
out.
there.
Yeah.
Like I go to New York Times in the morning, seeing what daily outrages happen, and like this is all boring regular stuff.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
there's
back to
controversy, he's just
back to
people.
bombing
That's it.
Syria and stuff.
That's,
Yeah.
that's all. Okay, that's all right.
I
The
know.
overall temperature in the room has gone down, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
We've
so
gone from
Bo-
galloping
bombing
capital.
Syria and Sachin scoring
Yeah.
centuries. These were the like things that we grew up with. So.
Yeah, capitalism has gone back to just creeping.
What? Wow. You've been disillusioned. Anyway, it's good to be back here. So we thought we'd do this special 200th episode on the line of our 100, taking the best of our 100th episode and 175th episode where we did a live. What did we do for 150? I think Naren and I just
You
for about 5 episodes or something. You know, we never.
yeah, we
Let's
went
not-
on and on.
Let's not remind listeners what we did for 150. I think the
Actually, this is the 50th, 150th episode. I think
Exactly.
we made this joke back then also, Naren. Anyway, so what we have for you is we have 4 topics which we have thoroughly researched by reading
Obviously.
3 articles each, and we just see how it goes from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pitch into mine, which is a wonderful thing I found out recently about called SPACs. Their SPAC stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Companies, and
It's a
what
That
they
is like
do
when
is-
you
marriage.
when you crunch your 6 packs together, it becomes packs.
No, I have a joke.
Yeah.
I have.
Oh, you have a joke.
It's not a
Okay.
joke. It's not a joke actually, but we'll get to that.
See, this is why you shouldn't come prepared. Someone will just like spontaneously.
So I was talking about SPACs, and SPACs are what are called Special Purpose Acquisition Companies. They are companies which are floated and listed on the stock exchange. Obviously, all this happens only in America, and it's not yet a thing in India. What they do is they list it. There is no business. They collect money from the shareholders. They keep it in an escrow account, and they wait for a good-looking company to pass by, and then they pounce on it, sort of put a burlap bag over its head, and acquire it. So that's the purpose of this company, is just to acquire another company, and even the company that is to be acquired is not named. So you don't specifically make a company to acquire another company. You make a company, just hang on to the money. So this has been around since the 80s and 90s, but at that time, this was very, very it was nowhere as popular as it is now. In 2020, $83 billion were raised by SPAC companies. That's a lot of money, right? And
Wow.
what they do is a few founders, like 4 of us, we can have a simplified SPAC, and the 4 of us would basically not subscribe any money at all. We bring our expertise and goodwill and whatever, our good looks in my case, and we just hang on. And the public subscribes and they pay for everything. We get a share. So 80% goes to the public who paid 100%, and 20% goes to the founders who haven't done anything. And then when you go out and acquire a company, that 20% is what, that also carries control. So the founders really make a big pot of money. And the shareholders, it has been found, usually don't make much. And if you ask the obvious questions, why is it, if such a bad deal for the shareholders, why do people even subscribe to SPACs? That's because one is born every minute. So you have people are fools. They will go up and they will buy a SPAC.
Wow.
And there are some interesting, so average size of a SPAC IPO in 2020 was $336 million. Just last year in 2019, it was 230 million. So it's gone up by nearly 40% or something, the size of the IPO. So it's the whole game is getting bigger.
Naren,
And
what,
why they, and the one of the reasons why they exist is that it's very convenient for private companies to get listed, because the SPAC is already listed. And suppose 4 of us are a startup, and if you do have to get listed, you need to go through something known as an IPO process, which is basically your entire business plan has to be put down on the, everything about your business has to be put down on a paper. And that paper goes under a really powerful microscope. So everything, you file a prospectus, and you're not allowed to make any claims that could be even slightly incorrect, so on and so forth. And it takes a long time because you have to, make sure that the prospectus doesn't have anything which is wrong. And you have to have something called a roadshow, which is you go to different groups of investors and try to sell your IPO, because you want to sell it for X amount of money per share. And investors have to be convinced that it is worth that. All that has to happen. In the SPAC route, none of that needs to happen, because the SPAC company, you just have to cut a deal with the SPAC company. And that is why this is shady as hell, because the founders are probably, they are in cahoots with the company that is being acquired. They probably arm twist extra favors from it. There is a huge, sort of scam waiting to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised to see headlines soon saying that, X did really bad things with the SPAC, and now the Securities and Exchange Commission wants to ban it, and so on.
Wonderful. Naren sir, 2 follow-up questions.
Yeah.
One, any famous companies that we know that have been acquired by SPAC? And
there are some in the process. There's one company called Nikola, which is one total conjob company.
Oh, the outspoken Tesla competitor, and that's saying something.
Yeah, that is Tesla minus the products.
Tesla minus product plus hype.
Yeah,
that's possible.
So they are doing. Another interesting one is a company called Strip Chat, which is a adult entertainment company, and it is it's pretty much what its name suggests. And so, as somebody said, there's a lot of naked ambition there. Which brings me to I always
advertisements so far for SPACs and SPAC-based companies, Naren.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk about it because whatever I've read online on the internet, a lot of it is very negative, in the sense that
really the internet is negative.
But surely there are positives to SPACs. So my guess is that this was once a good idea or a good thing to solve a particular problem, and the internet and Reddit or something has just made this, oh look, here's a loophole and let's exploited. My guess is that's how it's.
And the internet is particularly brutal when people are making money, and the internet is not part of that. That the person who's making the song and dance is not part of that. It feels very bad. And
I
very
think
good.
this theme will come up later in this episode.
Yeah.
I have a
Very
strong
much so.
suspicion that this
No,
motif
but
will repeat.
no, this you know what this reminds me of actually. I mean, SPACs are built in a certain way, but this also kind of correlates to something like the holding company phenomenon in some way, where
Yeah.
there is no real value that's being added by that holding company, but it is all powerful. Especially if you look at entities which we are all familiar with, like WPP. Which WPP is like the largest holding company for advertising agencies, but WPP stands for wire and plastic products.
Yeah.
So I mean, where there are no wire and plastic products being produced by that company. So this I mean seems related to that phenomenon, but overall, like
Yeah, this is very blatant. That is at
Yeah.
least, wire and plastic products existed sometime and actually made wire and
Yeah.
plastic products.
yeah, but this is where actually what I feel also is that this actually like really foregrounds a topic that's coming up in a lot of different areas right now. It's about how there are real world stark differences being highlighted by what is called perceived value and actual value, where there are so many entities that are actually blowing up because of like this explosion of perceived value, and versus the actual value, like what is called fundamental value in like financial terms, where what are the company's fundamentals, what are those I mean, what is the actual value, or so to speak, scrap value of the company. Like if you were to scrap the entire company today and sell all of its assets, what would it be worth? And the value of the company on the market should be something at least reasonably linked to that. Versus like, and that fundamental has completely gone out of the window, especially when you see with a lot of recent phenomenon.
Such a fundamentalist view, na? Like right now, you should measure the company by how much you would pay its founder to put out a tweet. That should be the value of the company.
Very much so.
Metrics have gone for it. So why haven't SPACs come to India? My guess is a lot of founders would not mind. Because we actually, if I know this correctly, we actually have more strict IPO rules than in the US. So
we are simply not allowed. Yeah. So there is one clause in the listing rules called distributable profit. So if you want to get listed, you should have had distributable profits for 3 years preceding the listing.
Oh,
wow. Distributable profits are profits earned from the operation which qualify as distributable for the purpose of giving dividend. So, for example, you can't borrow money from the bank and distribute it as dividend. That's not.
That's cheating.
That's cheating, yeah.
This is like one of those rules that somebody must have found a loophole at some point of time. Let's add in a clause, subsection 3A.
Yeah.
This always used to happen in Monopoly, no? When like, the banker used to run out of money and you're like, hey, everyone take 10,000, it's okay.
That being said, Tony, you just reminded me of something. Because I've been doing a little small economics course on the side. I want to like
doing means are you learning or teaching?
Learning.
Key difference.
No, so I want to play Monopoly, but with those other terms. Like I want to do monopsony, unregulated monopoly. I want to like recreate those.
That's such an awesome.
Like there are multiple people.
The same board game objectives.
Yeah. So monopsony. Yes.
Yeah, I was planning a solo podcast called Monotony, but okay.
That's a good idea. That's such a good idea. It's a great idea just because of the
truth in advertising.
Sort of like a so let's segue back.
I mean, depends on how Mallu you want to be. It could be monotony as well.
This idea sounds better, and just like a SPAC, we just now need to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, now the company now.
Now that we have the shell and all that, which also now ties in very beautifully with the. See, this is scripted.
Yeah, beautifully done. So,
speaking about the strip chat thing, I wonder why nobody, or I don't even know if they do, have a similar thing called Strip Advisor, right? It will be such an awesome thing.
I'm just
maybe that's the next SPAC, acquire Strip.
The SPACs are quite interesting. And if they ever do come to India and Lenskart does list over there and somebody just go through the financials, they'll be checking out the specs for a SPAC. Thanks, I've been saving this for
And
10 minutes.
and while wearing stretchable pants with Spanx.
Which SPAC? Can we flog this horse a little more?
Yes.
Please.
You mean spack it?
What's a Spock?
Yes.
You see, there's something called a Spock, no? Or is that the Star Wars?
Single point of contact or?
Oh,
Spock.
Star Trek.
Oh wow, that's what that is. Spock, single
Please
point.
don't say. We will like get death threats if you say Spock was Star Wars. Please, it's Star Trek.
Yeah, the same thing. Like one was George Lucas, the other one was DC. Yeah, who cares?
What?
How many so right now my hobby is to see how many possible constituencies can I offend at one go without my life being at risk.
Without putting, that makes it a small subset.
There is one distinct constituency that must not be offended, but besides that is all good.
Throw in a
Oh,
little
man.
joke in there and that should be fine now.
Yeah, that will just cap it all. Right now, I mean, I don't think jokes are needed for Liverpool. The joke is self-evident at this point. So
We'll show some mercy to that side.
Yo, beautiful. Well done. Nice. That was beautifully crafted.
Well played.
Yeah. See, Chuck, that's the difference. Your puns, no, are face palm. Tony's are like applause worthy. Like they're like, oh, wow, what a construction. Anyway,
It takes various types. We are not.
Yeah, this is like what we should throw at heathens. No, they think like puns are just like one type, but actually, like, it's like metal music. I'm guessing like there are different types of metal.
That is a shockingly good.
Yeah, no.
Because I was going to say it's like a cricket team. You need somebody who's like a Rahane, and you need somebody like a like I don't know, an Afridi, a Rishabh Pant.
If you're putting Rahane and Afridi in
the total aside. This is how this is how clueless I am about cricket, despite me showing off this unnecessary jersey that I'm wearing now. So this recent Australia series, so when I started watching again a little bit, I was like, Rishabh Pant, the guy who somebody made a song about in the stands a few years ago, saying he'll babysit your kids.
We've got Rishabh Pant.
Yeah, that's.
Oh God, but this is a total aside. As a podcast, is what Simblified is. So
I mean,
anyway,
basically at this point, it's all in Vinay's hands as to what you will hear and what you won't, because for the last 10 minutes we've just completely gone off.
What is in Vinay's hands right now is quite measurably his head. The poor fellow woke up at 7 and he didn't know what he was getting.
Yeah, this is why they say the early bird gets the worm. Giving you a full can of worms now.
Early bird gets a can of worms.
Excellent. But anyway,
nothing more on Spocks. That is interesting.
Yeah.
You expect Spocks to come to India? SPACs to come to India anytime soon?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they won't. Though there are so Grofers apparently is in talks with a SPAC company to get listing on NASDAQ, but they can't get listing in India. It's great. Yeah. So SPACs are basically for companies which have no prospects of ever having any distributable profits in the.
So Naren, one fundamental question. There's nothing you've told me that has sold me on the concept of SPACs right now. Why would retail investors invest in it?
Yeah, so this is the thing, right? In America, there is a huge sort of bubble, euphoria happening. People they don't understand. People, they just want to bet. SPACs have a terrible record anyway, so they don't have, they haven't really made anyone money who is not part of the founder team. But they manage. This is why you and I do podcasts instead of driving around in 7-class Beamers, because we don't know why people invest in SPACs. Yeah, so that's something.
So Naren, that was a great segue to that. What is this something that's causing? I mean, the stock markets, in short, in the last couple of months have been crazy, right? They've been like,
Correct.
and the funny thing is, I mean, the stock market went crazy last year as well when there was that COVID-linked crash, and that was just doom and gloom. But right now it's not just crazy. It's never been classified as
hysterical. Yeah.
funny. Yeah, hysterical. Like the stock market has been funny. Like it's like this is ridiculous, right? And what is as a phenomenon happening is
Shock
ridiculous.
market.
Yeah. So so the area that I was trying to look into was more than, okay, we know that the GameStop phenomenon happened, and similarly in India also a couple of stocks went up and down based on that, and around the world it's happening in some way. So more than exploring what exactly is happening, there are some reasons about why this is happening. Why is this insane phenomenon of stocks that have no reason going up like crazy or going down like crazy, or something being bought like this buying frenzy that's happening? So what I was looking at was reasons behind this particular thing, and there were some very simple, concrete reasons and some really great analogies that I was borrowing from. So honestly, I'm just going to like kind of put together some a compilation of different articles I've read along with some random thoughts that I've been
Stop giving
texting
away
with Chuck.
our standard operating procedure.
Yeah,
Modus
So-
operandi. Yeah. Business secrets, trade secrets.
Yeah.
You guys did, Naren and Tony did a great episode on GameStop, right? Like about 3 weeks or so back, 3 or 4 weeks back.
We did.
We didn't do an episode on it. Did we do an episode
Yeah,
on
I
it?
don't know.
Just
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
I
You didn't?
did.
Wait.
Maybe that's a different
Yes.
podcast.
No, you. What?
Okay,
because
anyway.
Did I
you
dream?
mentioned this earlier also, and I was like, where? And I was looking out the podcast list, and I was like,
Really?
where is this podcast that Naren and Tony did on GameStop that I can't find?
Did I dream this up or something? What?
Beautiful.
Possible. Let's not correct your perception though.
Yeah. But referring to that amazing fictional podcast that you guys did on the GameStop phenomenon, there was this.
I swear I saw Naren talking about GameStop. Did I confuse with the Clubhouse? No, man. I'm pretty sure I heard. Anyway, never mind. I thought
Anyway.
I heard. Because Naren saying the word short squeeze is just like imprinted in my brain.
Yeah, we did say short
I
squeeze,
think
but
I
that
might
was
be
in
giving
the,
away a little too much,
that
and I
was in
hope my
the
therapist
context
doesn't
of
hear
the
this.
vegetable market as to how you pick out an avocado is with the short
Anyway, I think I might have given away a little too much, and I hope my therapist is hearing this. Okay, go on, Srikeit. What is audio?
This is like I think GameStop phenomenon has infiltrated Simblified also. Like it's going insane. Anyway, so just to give you a brief background of what is the GameStop stuff that happened. I'm not going to go into details of this, but yeah, GameStop is a brick and mortar retailer of games. As you may know, most people now buy games online. So GameStop is going the way of what Kodak or Blockbuster or a lot of these brick and mortar erstwhile popular in the 90s kind of channels were. And so it was going to, it looked to be dying a natural death, but suddenly some people on Reddit decided to pump up the stock, and it blew up to the extent that it could have entered the Fortune 500 companies in some way for a brief bit before it crashed again.
Yeah, I'm
Now-
just looking at the number. Just to elaborate on Srikeit's point, it was 19.95 USD on 12th Jan 2021, and at its height it was $347 15 days later. And then it crashed back down. And interesting enough, Srikeit, I don't know if you know this, over the last couple of days has actually gone up from some 45 to 108. So it's
Of course
happening.
it has.
It's kind of like happening. Meme
So-
stocks. I never thought I'd live to hear the term meme stock.
Meme stock, and that's brilliantly that exactly is the term that we want to look at first. That these meme stock phenomenons, why are they going up in some way? Now, actually, when you look at the phrase meme itself and look at what memes do in some way, there is the first point is all about when you look at the stock market overall, like when you look at different parts of the internet, average consumers, people who don't have expertise in some way, have abilities to participate in them in some way or the other without much knowledge of it by way of memes. Memes are a way in. It's like I don't know much about politics, but I can share a political meme because it's easy to do. right? Meme is a simpler way into something. And that's where financial markets and stock markets in some way have been some of the most difficult to enter for a layperson, right? It's something that's not very convenient for a layperson to enter. It's not something very that they can decipher very well. It's not something that they can perform and succeed or even like gain a modicum amount of respect in that. It's been extremely opaque for a long period of time. And in this particular thing, the first factor that seems to come out from this particular thing is that it's all about like, I want to feel agency, right? I want to feel the ability that I can get into this space. I'm able to like pump up a stock. I'm able to like capture. I'm able to like make a difference in the stock market. All these industrial buyers, all these so-called operators who have all the power in the world, and I am being the subject of them, and I'm constantly running afraid and trying to make a small buck in a corner. Now I'm going to take control and make these guys run scared.
This is where you want to be client and agency at the same time.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay, Tony, how long has that been bubbling?
I was timing myself for when Srikeit takes a breath, so it's good that I can see him.
But yeah, no, that's where it's this. I mean, the other factor that also came in was like the 2008 financial crisis, right? It's something many people do not understand even to this day, like, but it impacted their life. So it was something like something came and hit you and you have no idea even to this day what hit you, right? But it screwed you over, it destroyed your life, but you had no idea what hit you. So it's almost, this came out as like a factor of revenge, saying that you put the entirety of the larger human race in uncertainty about, we suffered, but we had no idea what we were suffering from. It was almost like a revenge for the for that 1% or 5% of people who are actually in these markets to actually have that irrational suffering, like having that no idea what hit me kind of thing over here. And this GameStop phenomenon was one way of going back at that. So that was one factor. The other factor that came out was, and this is something, Chuck, we had discussed at some point in time, where I started dabbling in the market a year ago. About a year. I'm sorry?
And how?
But yeah, I mean, I started dabbling in the market about a year ago.
For everyone who's hearing, and for Naren and Tony's benefit, approximately 1.5 years back, Srikeit asked me, because I used to do some random passive investment. I don't look at stocks and stuff on a daily basis. Put some money inside, it'll take care of itself. In the long run has always been my approach. So young Srikeit here comes and asks, hey, you do some stuff in the stock market, right? What should I do? What account should I open and stuff like that? I said, this is what you do, and I give very basic advice, like 50% of your money put in mutual funds. The other thing, 30% put in some, regular safe stocks, and 20% just take a few, educated bets here and there, and that's about it. Forget about it. 3 months later, he said, I followed your advice and it's total rubbish. And 6 months later, he takes a 45-minute session for me, explaining all those various graphs and those Gopalakrishnan coefficients, which is apparently a thing, on money control and all the stuff. He's like, this is when you should buy. When the
Ichimoku clouds, Ichimoku clouds.
What's that thing? Pipe, that one pipe, cotton. No.
Microwaves in Polynesia.
No.
What?
I'm not ashamed to say I let loose a little fart at that point. What in the candlestick?
Candles, yeah. The VWAP and the candles.
So basically, what I'm trying to say is, Srikeit knows a thing about stocks at this point of time. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, but yeah, no. So they're just elaborating on Chuck's this thing that he gave me some basic advice. The most important of which was open a Zerodha account, and I was like, okay. So I started from there, and then a few thousand hours later, I kind of like developed a bit of an obsession, and so just understood the market a little better. Started doing some basic amount of retail investing. But the one thing that struck me, and when I was talking to Chuck about it later, I told that, all these things, like on a regular basis, we talk about all these companies, right? We talk about, the companies that impact our life every day. Yeah. But when you get to the stock market, suddenly it's some of these obscure companies that are doing amazingly well, which you have never heard of, right?
Yeah.
And so, and coming in as a newbie, as a retail consumer, you would want to go and I'd be like, okay, let me go and invest in ITC. ITC is doing really well. But if you're on the stock market level, you'll be like, ITC is a pretty dead stock. It barely moves around. It's kind of there. It's not going to give you great returns. If you want great returns, invest in like GMM Fowler, which is like a glass lining company or some sort, which you've never heard of before. So now that creates a bit of dissonance for the newbie retail investor in some way. So in some way, they kind of use this impact of nostalgia as well as familiarity to pump up stocks that normally don't move up and down in the stock market, but every retail consumer may know about. You know, like GameStop is like this nostalgic company, but I feel badly about GameStop, so I want to make GameStop go up. So that's where GameStop starts jumping up. In this phenomenon has also come to like Malaysia for some extent, where there are some rubber gloves which are really popular, but they have been going out of fashion, and now rubber gloves are going through the roof over here. And
that's it. We are buying 10,000 shares of Shantakumar and Srishant right now.
So yeah, I mean, the other stocks that were targeted were BlackBerry, Blockbuster, Nokia, like all these like stocks that are going out of fashion that you think that, okay, were part of my nostalgic memory, but are no longer relevant in today's day and age. And those are the kind of stocks that have been going through the roof. So that kind of like nostalgia like has done another thing. And the important factor of nostalgia, which actually connects to the next factor which comes in, is that how COVID has really impacted this is that people are all really lonely and people are all really bored, right? They have been stuck at home with a bunch of money because a lot of people actually have bolstered their savings a lot in this year, because again, a recession means there's not money flowing in the economy. People have a lot of, people are getting a lot of money in their accounts and stuff. So this is obviously nostalgia helps combat loneliness to some extent, and it helps combat boredom, right? So people are sitting at home bored and they want to participate in some way or the other, especially people who have never invested in the stock market. Like I got into the stock market, I spent some time, understood, now I can do some investment. But tomorrow, a random guy on the street who has no idea about this wants to get in. Suddenly they look at something like GameStop going through the roof and they're like, oh, let me just make a Robinhood account, put money on GameStop and I'm good for a bit. Like at least this is some way I can participate without any understanding or knowledge. So yeah, go ahead, sir. No, go ahead.
Yeah, and you said Robinhood, right? And this is something that Naren and Tony had discussed on that fictional podcast of theirs as well. And I quote from that show. Robinhood, for those who are not aware, is an app that I guess makes investing not just easier, but they gamify it in some way. Nicely called back to GameStop there, with confetti and basically removing a lot of barriers, which sounds like a good thing, but in some senses actually some barriers are actually needed when you're playing around with money and you have all those the risks that are associated with investing and all that, and a lot of kids just don't get it. And been hearing so much about Scott Galloway would say that 80% of people who actually invest in the retail market actually end up losing money. And as an end result of this GameStop phenomenon that happened, it seems like the small guy stuck it to the big guy, but one or two of the big guys actually lost money. But it was actually a lot of the big guys who ended up making money out of this.
This is that old saying, how do you make a small fortune on the stock market? You have to start with a large fortune.
But also I think there is a paper to be made about how the investors new investors of today have suddenly grown up in a time when poker has become popular and fantasy leagues have become popular. So
exactly,
they are like more ready to gamble with real money as opposed to like old things of, put it in that NPS or whatever and leave it for ever.
Very true. I mean, and that's where the ability to kind of like say, okay, fine, you know what, I can put some money over here and see how it grows, or make that big gamble, that ability is also there. But the most interesting factor, and I got this when I was reading about this, it grew more and more in my head, was okay, when you think of this phenomenon, there is this one set of phrases. I'm just going to read out a set of phrases, and this is from a New York Times article that was beautifully written, which is so there's a set of phrases that says, is this for real? It's got to run out of steam. It just can't keep going on like this. How is this even happening? These set of phrases, what other phenomenon would you apply to besides the GameStop phenomenon, recent phenomenon, according to you guys? Is this for real?
Trump,
it's got to
Dutch
run.
tulip thing.
Exactly. Trump.
Yes!
Trump is the exact thing.
Damn it.
So in some ways, so what this article does is almost like draws this parallel between the Trump phenomenon and this GameStop phenomenon, where rolling back to that whole phrase of the meme stock, right? Trump was the meme president.
Yeah.
Right. He was this ridiculous president who you never thought could become president. And actually, a lot of people and a lot of the initial airtime it was critical for Trump to survive came from news coverage, comedy show coverage, because they were also like, oh, this is so funny. This is such a funny sideshow. Let's give it as much airtime and traction as we can. Then like, because nobody's taking it seriously and thinking that, oh, it will eventually die down. Let me get as much content as I can out of it right now and give it as much airtime as I can.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
So this is where this GameStop phenomenon also kind of got that traction on the Reddit, where it was all about it being that meme president, the meme stock in some way, where in fact later on the article there is one very cool phrase that says that it wasn't they started giving like Trump the platform because they wanted Trump to kind of grow and say that, you know what, it's a joke. So it kind of goes like the moment when the subreddit starts building up this narrative, and it's this fun narrative that actually gains a lot of structure and suddenly comes out into the real world where it has a working structure. Yeah. Right? It has a working structure of how this joke pans out, about how seriously and how far you can take this joke. And when it applies to real life, it seems to work just as well as it did inside the Reddit.
Right. But Trump was not just the meme president; he was also the me president, right? So
yeah, that too. Oh my God! Wow. Yeah. And later on, and I'm at this point just quoting this incredible article because it's such a brilliant point where it says that it's a place that offers you special opportunities if you proceed with the assumption that it is fundamentally illegitimate and should be treated as such. What are they going to do? Ban you? What do you have to lose? Your account. So at the end of the day, you can make this big lie, so to speak, or this big insane argument, or this concept of, oh, let's pump up this stock. If everything goes south, you're going to lose your account.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. People will be like, oh, you're trying to do some illegal stock market speculation or whatever, so we're going to ban you.
That exemplifies,
Even you know who has read this article? Who has read this article and is putting it to good use is Kangana Ranaut. So,
very much so. And we're seeing this phenomenon pan itself out in multiple different spheres of life. It's like we've seen it in, of course, politics. We're seeing this in the market, but across different spheres of life, there are certain unwritten rules of engagement that used to exist, that everyone used to hold sacrosanct, and they were almost like treated like hard rules. And a lot of people are discovering that these hard rules aren't hard at all, and you can push up against them and break them entirely. And so this is like, I mean, going to a much older time, almost like Fight Club. You know, like there are no rules. Like just go ahead and do whatever.
There's just one rule.
Break everything and see what. Yeah. So let's break everything and see how it works. So people are actually pushing up against it right now in some ways.
It's like the coconut of rules has been broken and the water has.
But it's also like this whole GameStop and meme stock phenomenon is kind of interesting. It's happening at a time when crypto is doing. I want to say but it's as memey in a sense, right? Because nobody's
very much so.
Crypto. There are its stands from back in the day. It's gone up like a crazy amount. It's such a storied thing as well, right? You have all these things. Oh, I lost the Bitcoin a long time back, and today I would have been a trillionaire or something if I had that. There's
you know it is doing well. You know it is doing well because the Indian government is already planning on banning it. So it is doing.
There's a thing I read somewhere. If Warren Buffett in 2009 or something had invested all his money into Bitcoin, he would have been worth $800 trillion today. Like I can't fathom that amount of 800 trillion. Anyway, But yeah, so that's one thing. And the second, so then there is, of course, Mr. Mischief Monger himself, Elon Musk, who I have to
Of
say is the
course.
most sophisticated troll I have ever seen in my life. Like,
It's an art form with him.
I mean, what a guy, you know, like, what a character. But the third thing is, I think, Srikeit, I think we should talk about this, is Reddit itself. Like, what is Reddit? Like, what is Reddit's role in this entire thing? Because Reddit, I think, is there used to be this joke a long time back, right? We've spoken, VVS Lakshman is the most sung about unsung player. Like, Reddit in that sense is like this most innocuous, under the radar thing, which is like responsible for a lot of mischief everywhere, including Donald Trump to some extent.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. And that's where this whole again, drawing a parallel to the most fundamental of all books, which is Sapiens, where humans are the only creatures in having an ability to believe in fiction. Perceived understanding is like completely gone far beyond what is actually real. So in the share market, you'd think that, I mean, everyone talks about any particular share and they talk about its fundamentals. And now fundamentals are the last thing anybody is talking about. Nobody gives a shit about the fundamentals. Everyone's talking about where the value is going to go in the next couple of weeks or months. When do you invest? When do you get in? When do you get out? Yeah. So that's what the whole point is. It's not about fundamentals or steady growth at all, especially in the trendy part of the stock market.
Yeah, it's all about the narrative now. No, it's almost completely about
the narrative, the storytelling of it. Yeah,
the narrative, where it could go from here. Like what are they thinking about? No, I forget. There's so much written about how narrative is more important than. I was reminded of that scene in Silicon Valley when Richard Hendricks, the founder of the company, he had a starry-eyed young guy who had handed over the mantle of CEO to a professional CEO, because he was more a tech guy and he preferred doing that. Yeah. And he was like, okay, how many units of this thing are we going to sell? Like, I'm not focused on that. My job is to drive up the valuation of this company so that we can sell it off to somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it's at.
It's a big value parota and everyone's sharing it in the share market.
Contrived.
So that was just a few thoughts on what the psychology behind the GameStop phenomenon was. So should we...
Srikeit, you think, sorry, since you are the most seasoned investor of the lot, do you think there might actually be like traditional asset management companies who actually try to figure out which stocks might become the next meme stocks and create maybe even like a potential meme stock ETF or something? Like, see, like all the companies
what an awesome thought.
GameStop, Nokia, BlackBerry, all these. Like, I'm not much of an investor, but I've always wondered why there are no exciting mutual funds. Like Sachin Tendulkar, mutual fund, dude. Like all the companies that he's possibly Virat Kohli is a better example right now for many reasons. But I've been fascinated. Like, why is there no ETF for you know,
all the companies that Virat Kohli is advertising for, right? So,
But
you know what joke works better written and shouldn't be told on a podcast? I'm going for one right now.
Go for it.
Basically, there's a collective term for traditional asset management bros as human manipulators, which is damn brams. So
we can't use that on the podcast for several other reasons, actually. I don't think readability is the issue.
It's punching up only.
Srikeit, I just thought of something like just adding to something you said a while back. Traditionally, and I say this actually with a fair bit of seriousness, even though it sounds a little goofy.
Yeah, no.
Asset management companies will usually hire people who are great at finance or great at analysis or whatever. Now, for all you know, if this becomes a thing, the Robin Hood phenomenon as it becomes a thing, I can totally imagine them going and getting out arts graduates and, you know,
That's what exactly what I'm saying.
this
Content
is,
like advertising
repatriation
agency,
for
content
laid off
management
BuzzFeed
teams.
employees.
yeah.
Yeah, so content management teams, TikTokers, you were having all of these
TikTokers,
guys
just imagine.
hiring a team of all of these
Wow.
fuckers who were
Chief trend analyst at Morgan Stanley now coming to
and like one TikToker with like spiky hair with no freaking clue what finance is, but he's just like,
I can't wait for the day to see this happening.
Yeah, but that's why, right? The whole point is, in some ways, on a larger societal way, every bastion of seriousness is getting hit, right? Every bastion of, oh, this is where serious politicians do their job or serious investment bankers do their job, is now getting infiltrated by memes, so to speak. Like meme presidents, meme stocks, meme everything. So nothing can be sacred anymore. If anything starts becoming sacred, memes will infiltrate it.
Wow,
So,
that's like section that rule of the internet is there. What rule 93 something? No, everything on the internet will eventually become porn or something. No, some rule.
Porn, yeah, very much so.
So now
it's almost
something like that. Anything I see. What's the last thing? Medicine. Just imagine now if you're you're going for surgery or something, and your doctor comes to you.
Haven't you heard of Goop
and Pikachu outfit or something? Like, let's see how this goes.
No, Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop are already doing that in some extent. So that's all there. But yeah, so I mean that's
and of course test the sacred game of Test cricket has now been infiltrated with color clothes and
2-day matches.
And I was more talking about IPL, but sure. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so
at the time when bowlers would politely say, "How's that?" Like they politely turn to the umpire. Anyway, I think
and now it's Rodi banega.
One of my hobbies is whenever a company is in the news for the wrong reasons, just go and see what they're talking about on their social media. Right? Tends to be very disconnected. And Gamestop has been fascinating because they're just acting as if like we have no idea what's happening. So their social media is full of like, hey, new offer coming today. And all the comments are like, thanks for making me a millionaire of you guys. Or like, hold on, guys. It's going to go. Nobody cares about what nobody gives a shit about what GameStop does. They could be selling like floor tiles for all they care. Like, wow. Yeah, I have strange hobbies.
Clearly. But anyway, speaking of strange hobbies,
that was something to swallow, digest, masticate, and sort of
defecate.
Thanks, Srikeit. And I think we should, take a little pause here. And in the next episode, we will find out what makes Chuck foam at the mouth. So some rant from him, and then the sagacious Tony will sort of calm things down. Calm the fuck down.
You've been reading Woodhouse again, haven't you?
Yeah, I just go off, sit behind.
I think we should reassure our listeners that there's only 2 parts to the 200.
Yeah.
One way or the another.
Yeah. So there is, the good news is there's only one more.
Don't worry.
There's only one more 200th episode.
So Naren, you wanna get back to your stay safe, stay
safe, stay memeified, and stay simplified.